Hello and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be discussing the 2 times price action was highly probable and predictable on EURUSD as a result of market participants' trading actions. I'm going to be sharing how I actually managed to take advantage of this with a few trades and actually yield a total of 3.88% this week. First things first, let's actually have a quick look at the dollar index. So as you can see in the previous week, post CPI, we actually saw a clear range of consolidation, not actually breaking out the range from Wednesday. Now, this is when, we're going to be actually waiting, sitting on our hands for, our news drivers to actually come into play. Now, as you can see, on Monday, our news driver came into play, Donald Trump actually getting into power. Now, this was very significant to me, and this is where predictability came into play, that more likely than not, the following, days within our week, we're going to be bearish. The main reason is solely down to how we actually managed to close below CPI's low. So historically, we've seen midweek our news is most likely going to be some sort of manipulation where significant high or low actually gets placed in, and we'd either trade above it or below it in some sort of range of expansion. In this case, if we traded above, more likely than not, we'd see some sort of expansion to the upside to this high. But as soon as we break it, this is where it becomes more probable than not we're going to trade to the downside. Now, our first stage of predictability was actually, given to us on the Tuesday. Now, I've highlighted this in a previous video on how I actually managed to take advantage and execute my first EURUSD trade, which is this one here, where I managed to yield 1R and 2%. Now, going in to our further days, we've actually got to, predict what's most likely going to happen. So if we've seen some sort of range of expansion towards the lows on DXY, post our news driver, and we actually have no news going into our Wednesday, more likely than not, Wednesday is going to be some sort of engineering of liquidity, getting, prepared for our Thursday when we've got our high impact news, such as, in this case, our Donald Trump first ever speech, with being president. Now, this is clear, just to actually illustrate this, is because as we can see, from our midnight open all the way to actually London open, we see price trade lower. Then going into our New York, we actually see price trade back above, engineering our low, just above our weekly fair value gap. So for me, this is always going to be a no trade day. I'm not going to take advantage of anything. Why? It's because, our daily candle is not yet going to be as predictable as we like it. Going into Tuesday, it is going to be, because more likely than not, we are going to see price push to the lower, which is exactly what we got. Now, if you take a loss on this, so be it. Your frequency is going to drop. Therefore, you're going to actually take less losses and more wins due to actually you taking advantage of more probable setups. Now, let's actually go into Thursday, where I actually managed to take advantage of the trade that I actually managed to share in my Telegram group live. So let's drop down and show why this was significant and how, signs of predictability actually became clear post our speech. So as mentioned, our range of consolidation on Wednesday. Going into Thursday, we immediately swept, our previous daily high. Now, what was significant after this is we didn't see any sort of swift move to the downside or, continuation from this consolidation day to the upside, consolidating up here. We instantly just consolidated above when we swept previous daily high. Now, this was important as it actually, engineered some liquidity for before we actually got our high impact news. Now, as you can see, as soon as we got our news release, we can see price clearly manipulate our highs of this consolidation range and immediately make a run lower. Now, this is significant as it actually shows, market participants' intent to actually trade price lower. Now, this is where all you do is just align, your high probable draw, which in this case was our weekly fair value gap, which was actually anticipated to be reached a few weeks ago. Now, the way I actually managed to take advantage of this was what was the tracks that were left behind. So in this case, we've actually got our 1 hour fair value gap, and we have our significant high here. So with our significant high, what I'm actually talking about is where I'd anticipate market participants to not actually trade above. Now, this is down to time of the week and how we actually traded previously in the week and whereabouts we actually traded from, in our previous weeks. It's important, to combine everything, our higher time frame bias and actually align it with our, intraday trades or swing trades going into, our next week. Let's actually hop on EURUSD and share with you my execution. I actually managed to take 2 trades and I'll just be going into that very shortly. Firstly, let's start with our original position. We actually set our entry on this 1 hour this 1 hour fair value gap, in line with DXY's 1 hour fair value gap. Now, stop loss was placed just below the low, which was actually manipulated by our high economic news release caused by Donald Trump. As you can see, let's actually go into how price actually delivered. As soon as we got our Asian open, we actually saw a big expansion to the upside. Now, as soon as we actually closed above this high, this is when my original position was in break even, and I actually managed to, execute my second position. Now, I'm risking the same amount as I would initially, but now my reward has doubled. And I will only do this, when we've got a high probable draw and a high probable day, and where predictability is going to be very, very clear. As you can see, my take profit was on EURUSD significant highs here. As you can see, clear signs of engineering liquidity on our Wednesday when I said and shared with you why there was most likely going to be some sort of consolidation. As you can see, our take profit was actually aligned with DXY's weekly fair value gap, which was mentioned in the Telegram and previous YouTube videos. So overall, fantastic week, yielding 3.88%. I hope this video does help, and if anyone has any questions, just feel free to send me a message. So thank you very much. I'm going to be dropping an Outlook video very shortly, more likely than not on Sunday.